Good evening, everyone. Big hi from Eben, this side from Headstart. So we were like planning for last 1 week on how we can get into this CSR, where we at Headstart we are planning to enable and the enablers in 2022, and we believe like CSR will be one good mandate where we can work for supporting the incubators or enablers in the startup ecosystem. So when the new mandate passed by government in the last year in Companies Act 2013, and that made a good dimension that gave whole new dimension to work with corporates to along with the incubators and startups, and it directly helping startups which are creating impact in the ecosystem. And from the corporate foundations perspective, the mandate is not provided them to like partner with most aggressive startups in the place, but it's also helped them to create a bigger achievement, bigger impact or in the socioeconomic domain. So from the startup perspective, it's also opened a new avenues to network with the corporates, do their paid POCs or more opportunities actually, and it's always created a bigger like size or scalable projects than ever before. And most important question is like whether after this mandate or the amendment happened in February 2021, from there like incubators or corporates were trying to do in this space. Like we have corporates who is working with incubators from last decades, but whether it is utilized in a very properly way or whether we were utilizing it and the maximum effort as a question. So here we Headstart present you CSR Fridays, where we are bringing experts from incubators who is working with CSR for close to a decade, and from corporates we are bringing the foundations who wanted to work with startups and incubators and to maximize that impact and like make sure that like that impact is accountable also. And Headstart is working here as a catalyst to connect these foundations to incubators, right incubators who is fit field in terms of creating socioeconomic development or impact on the other side. And we at Headstart, we wanted to work with CSR foundations to channelize to make sure that this CSR goes to right startups or right hands which can create impact. So today we have two great guests with us. We have Lakshmi ma'am from DERBI Foundation who work like she's the CEO for DERBI Foundation, which is an incubator located in Bangalore, and we have Saurabh joining from the Himalayas, IIT Mandi Catalyst, one of the incubators from the north. So we're going to listen from both of them how they are utilizing this space of CSR as being an incubator leader, and what they are seeing, how they can leverage for their portfolio startups in this new avenue, which is all created. And like they all the incubators join here or startups joined here. For them, this will be a learning curve where they can learn about how you can structure your activities on getting into the CSR or creating more impact or to tap these opportunities coming in. So I welcome everyone for the event, today's event, exploring CSR journey with startups, where I've been here from Bitspeed Bionas Goa, joining as a moderator. But before that, we having a basic like before we starting the panel discussion, we're gonna have presentations from both of them, from both incubators, how they are working on this field for last few years, or like after CSR thing has happened. So first I would like to welcome Dr.Lakshmi from DERBI Foundation. So she is an incubator leader where we all look into DERBI, how they are, what we can adopt from them, how we can inspire from the DERBI Foundation in doing activities. So she is a hardcore startup evangelist, always helping Headstart on our grounds. So she runs the entire entrepreneurship activities in Dayananda Sagar institutions way back in 2019 from the ESL time of the Dayananda Sagar University, and which become grown into a fully fledged incubator which is focusing on healthcare majorly. I can see a lot of programs happening in the healthcare space at DERBI Foundation, and it's always working for creating a like I when I read through her LinkedIn profile, I felt that okay, she is one who really wanted to exponentially build our Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I welcome Dr. Lakshmi for this session today, where you can give the brief presentation on how DERBI is working with CSR foundations, startups, and your journey in the space.
Thank you, Eben. It's fantastic having me here. It's great. So I would probably first of all thank Headstart for this whole wonderful initiative. I think all of us are. It is like I think there's a wonderful book, Four Blind Men and the Elephant, where each of us are seeing one part. That is what I remember when the CSR thing comes. All of us are trying to figure out our own version of what we can do, how to tap in money. So I would probably say it's a very humble submission of what we have done and what we have learned so far, because there are many, I would say, established incubators in the country who've been doyens and leading in all these decades. I think we are putting our baby step forward in whatever we are doing, but trying to learn in the process as to how things can be done and how to do better. And some of our learnings in all these years is what I'm trying to share with my fellow colleagues here. Are you able to see my screen? Are the slides moving?
Yes, please.
Great. Okay, sure. See, as I've been introduced, I think we started as the ESL in 2009 at Dayananda Sagar, then grew into a DST supported Innovation Entrepreneurship Development Center, which is essentially more of a student-centric initiative. Then 2015, DERBI became a full-fledged incubator. The reason I'm telling this story is, I think from 2009, when we started the ESL, I think one, I would say, strong question which was always there at the back of my mind is, how do I become self-sustaining? Even though we didn't have, any entrepreneurship cell, I'm sure there would be no students who would be paying you fees, quote unquote, to be a part of the cell. So you'll have to have revenue to sustain its activities, right? From there up to DERBI now, though we have constantly tapped into multiple government programs, we started with a DST supported initiative in 2015, then set up the ecosystem to some extent, got multiple program support from DST, whether Nidhi SSS, Prayas, EIR, METI Tide 2.0, and last year we were also able to get Invest India. That apart, that is our constant focus to see how we could sustain. And I think the CSR funding from corporates is more like a, I would say, black box. To some extent, I think we have cracked, and I will also share details of that as well, what we have done. I think one thing we have also understood to a large extent is, why should, first of all, I think all of us have to understand why will corporates engage with an incubator. See, I think for corporates, we have seen on multiple occasions, I think the easiest thing for a corporate to spend their CSR budget is to donate, say, for example, to the PMO fund, or donate to a larger national initiative. That is the more easiest part to do, right? Any other initiative that any corporate takes, I think it needs a lot of time and effort from both sides to sustain and keep the initiative on, right? So in this scenario, if we have to bring in interest from the corporate to make sure that this whole initiative is successful and there's a win-win, very important for us when we go to a corporate saying they'll have to do something beyond donating to a PM fund or for a national initiative, there has to be a clear win-win. So one of the reasons which corporates could look at is to, for example, see what are the new innovations which are there in the ecosystem, because startups are very, very agile as compared to a corporate. So it is very easy for startups to be nimble and manage innovation in a much better way at a low cost as compared to corporate. So corporates are always keen on seeing what are the innovations which are there in areas allied to their business. So if any initiative that the incubator could take, to see that corporates get exposed to these innovations would be a welcome agenda. That is one. And second one is we've also seen corporates who are keen on encouraging entrepreneurship in their own organization. Some of the well-known companies also want to facilitate engagements with the incubators to identify if some of their own employees want some ideas to be pursued internally to the organization, which can probably also help them to expand their own portfolio at a later point of time. This is one. And to a large extent, the second point is what most of the corporates want to do in terms of supporting CSR for the community, because this also aligns with the Schedule 7, right? In terms of starting from healthcare, education, social, anything for the social impact, livelihood, whole lot of things. So how can corporates give CSR money to some innovation which can enable impact for the community? This I will also go a little depth in the further slides. Third thing is, how can we bring in the message that the incubator could probably do something which can create impact for the country? Try to align with any of the Government of India initiatives, maybe Digital India, Make in India, or the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So broadly, if we see, I think one is identify societal problems for which innovative solutions are there, which can be deployed in the community. Incubator could say, we can help you identify solutions by startups, either identify solutions, existing solutions, or help startups build solutions which can solve a particular problem which is there in society. Again, across all these water, health, sanitation, any of these areas. Second one is, as I said, the entrepreneurship. Third one is whether the organization can give money to the incubator, which can be given as a seed fund or as a grant to startups, right? Seed is, of course, the incubator has to take a call. The other example is, can the corporates fund the incubators to set up infrastructure, infrastructure, lab, or any facility? Again, the answer, the presentation here should be in such a way that infrastructure is being created so that the infrastructure, whether it is a lab or physical infrastructure, can be put to good use in terms of developing innovations which can which can be used by startups to solve a particular problem in the society. I think a social angle has to be very, very strong, right? So what does a partner get? See, one is, of course, as incubators, I'm sure all of us have all these, the regular mandate of ATG, 12A, the CSR Form 1, which came last year. And partners, we could also tell them that whenever we do any specific activity which is funded by them, we can ensure that the sponsorer also gets branding on all outreach activity done by this. And if they want, they can also opt to be a mentor for the innovations they like. And of course, it can also support to a large extent the SDG goals, specifically 1, 2, 8, 9, and 17. Now, one last slide I have is specifically on the CSR support. We have very initial breakthroughs. We have just started on the journey. In fact, actually, we started our operations in 2016. First few years, we also tried getting CSR, how to do, what to do, whom should you know, and things like that. We had our own challenges. Fortunately, I think the first breakthrough we got was from our own group hospital. Sagar Group also has a hospital. So first year we got some funding from them. And what we used that was to do a social innovation tech challenge for students pan-India. Again, here I would like to emphasize that though the funding was from our own sister institution, again, we also had to make sure that why should Dayanand Sagar or Sagar Hospital give us this money? What is the benefit that the parent group, though it's a parent group, what is the benefit they would get? So again, we did a student-focused innovation challenge and ensure that the Dayanand Sagar branding also was very well done in the whole initiative. 2021-22 financial year has been pretty lucky for us. We were able to tap about 3 CSR fundings, including our own group hospital, in which we are planning to do an innovation challenge. Interestingly, what happened was we got one funding from Canara Bank Securities. And they were very particular that the funding has to be utilized for asset utilization only. See, here again, no, I think unless we are a really, really big, very well established incubator, we do not have much of a say as to how do we want to utilize the funding. Though we have all the options, they would say, if they say this has to be used for asset creation only, then we again went back and did our homework and wanted to create some asset which is aligned to our focus area. So then we are now setting up a AI healthcare lab, because we are able to now leverage our own hospital data which is there, which can go into the AI healthcare lab, which startups can use to build AI models, validate, and then move forward. So Canara Bank Security is also very happy with this proposition, and we are going forward. I think HDFC Bank, I think this is one big CSR grant we have tapped this year. This again, HDFC, they are very clear that the funding is to be given as a grant to startups only. So we were also involved with HDFC in selecting the startup, proposing some of the startups, recommending some of the startups, or again aligned to the area of healthcare, because that is our focus area. So this again, I think we have tapped into this as well. So what has been our learning so far? See, for example, in 21-22, what we have cracked, apart from our own group, Canara Bank Securities and HDFC, we did not take much of an attempt. HDFC, we applied on the portal, and I think we got selected by our merit. So the point here is, I think the incubators, at least the initial few years, have to build in a lot of credibility and name to the incubator. The way we work, the professionalism, and the transparency and accountability, I think that's very, very important. See, the Indian scenario, I would say, by design, most of the incubators are located in academic campuses, right? So I think we will have to build confidence with the corporate that though the incubator is hosted by an academic institution, incubators also work very professionally like corporates. We are also very accountable and very transparent. And as Ebin was mentioning also earlier, whatever we do, there is a lot of transparency and accountability we bring in. So every rupee that we get as CSR fund is accountable and transparency is ensured. I think this, if the incubators are able to maintain the way they run, because startup ecosystem is a very small world, so word of mouth spreads very fast. So the credibility is built, so that makes all the difference. And one more important thing is you'll have to align. See, sometimes we'll also have to write a proposal. For example, in the case of HDFC, when we wrote a proposal, no application for getting the CSR fund, we had to align to the objective of the HDFC. They had a Parivartan program. We had to align. Fortunately, there was one objective they also had was healthcare. So we wove a story about how DERBI is doing on healthcare, what are the startups, how their solutions are creating impact in the society. That was one of the way we were able to grab the grant. And whenever you are approaching corporates, if there's no specific call for CSR application from the corporate side, if we are making an application, always please make sure that we do build a win-win strategy. So a lot of homework has to be done on the CSR objective of the sponsor. Every corporate organization would have a CSR policy where they've clearly outlined what is your objective, what are the areas they're looking at. So whenever you propose something, make sure that there's a win-win strategy of what they have done. And be open to collaboration. See, today I think ecosystem, we should be rather open to work with other incubators, other corporates, other startups, or other players, even if it means that you'll have to pay a chunk of your CSR funding to make things happen. Be open for collaboration. I think that is very, very key. And whenever we write a proposal, if it is possible, try to factor your expenses. Not all the CSR fund, the incubator is getting also some money to run its operations. For example, if we take if I give you the example of what we got from Canara Bank, incubator is hardly left with any money. Actually, it is zero money, right? Because entire money is going for asset creation. But nevertheless, create an asset which can also at least probably create some revenue for you in the future. At least keep that in mind. And last thing I would say is have patience, because initial years, I think we are also groping in the dark, how to go about, what to do. I think finally, once things happen, then it is much, much easier. Things will start falling in place. Yeah, that's all I had to share.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi, for sharing your journey and the CSR. I really love the experience. Like you started from your own like hospital group, which you showed, and also for the other incubators join. Like building that credibility is more important in the first few years. Like I would like to insist that, like if you're incubator in the first few years of the operations, like you make sure that you are building credibility and creating that accountability for what you are doing. So thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Now I move to Saurabh from.
Sure. Even one second, one more thing I would like to add. See, for example, if you see both Mr. Saurabh's and my case, Saurabh has a big brand behind him, IIT brand, right? I think for any smaller, tier 2, tier 3 institution, it's a huge challenge to build something, build credibility of what you're doing. I am also looking forward to hearing from IIT Mandi and Saurabh about their story as well. Yeah, thank you, Ebin. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So moving to Saurabh now. Saurabh working in I think like he started with building his own startup, then moved to running Chhattisgarh government's nodal agency, which is 36INC, leading it. And then he moved to Atal Incubation Center at Great Lakes. So I used to interact when I was with AIC race together. So AIC is running 2 AICs now. With one of the big brand like premier institutions, IIT Mandi, which is I think like it is the last incubator which is on the top of our country. And like I love to hear from Saurabh, like how being IIT Mandi, like being in a premier institution, how you are working with corporates, whether you have a kind of like good like you already are in IIT, right? And it's already there even before the amendment. IITs can utilize the CSR money. So now I would like to listen from your models and like what were the preparations that you did in the first few years of the operations of incubators to make sure that you are getting CSR ready. Please, over to you, Saurabh.
Yeah, thank you, Abhin and team for making this opportunity for all of us incubation fellows to interact with each other and share our learnings. And thank you very much, Lakshmi ma'am, for sharing your learning in this journey of creating the CSR opportunities. So actually, in fact, as Lakshmi ma'am said that being in at IIT, but also at location at Mandi, Himachal Pradesh. So that it's create a very unique positioning. And that is what, and in fact, every incubator needs to find their unique position. In our case, I like what we found that, of course, for us, it was very clear being at a very specific geographic location and also coming from a very reputed brand in India, which also brings a big responsibility also. But again, being in a very specific geographic location that helped us to define what we need to do, why we need to do, and how we are going to do that. So that is the reason, which is a very important aspect while we are approaching CSR funds. That is a very important aspect that we have to define what we are and why we are doing what we are doing. So that when we know what we stand for, then we can find or make a little adjustment to suit what CSR fund wants, because that is a very important aspect. There are again, getting a CSR fund is also, another that might become a diversification for our distraction if that is not aligned with your own goal. Sometimes we need to align with their goal, and that is a kind of the trade-off we need to make balance between adjusting. But again, to get a CSR fund, it's very important that we align our targets and actions with what the CSR fund is looking for, what their objectives are, because that is how we are going to actually help them to achieve their objective and targets, and that is what is the primary criteria any CSR funds have. And again, with as Lakshmi said that today's for any incubator, one of the very important aspects is to become self-sustainable. Any government grant is for 5 years, 3 years, and after that, the government is expecting us to become self-sustainable. The only right now, what I see, one of the most prominent or the only very stable right now, the option which looks to me is, of course, the CSR fund. And when we were doing research on that about how much CSR fund is right now, it's at present going to incubators, it came to our surprise that only less than 1%, in fact, 0.17% of present CSR funds are going to incubators. That shows that's a huge opportunity for incubators to receive CSR funds. In India, we are having more than 90,000 crore fund is given as CSR funds. And out of that, we are not even at the 1% of that. So, and again, when we are seeing that the government is changing their focus, corporates are changing their focus toward innovation, then this is a very evident and obvious thing that the next thing is going to come in all the CSR funds also, that they are going to look for more innovative solution, and incubators are going to be their tool. I have just compiled some of my thoughts and the information what we are doing right now in terms of reaching out the CSR funds. Let me share with you that the IIT Mandi Catalyst, we are located at a very specific location, being at a hills. So that is why we aligned our activities, and that is over the period of time we found out that the clean tech, environment, health tech are the areas where we are getting most of the startups. And now, although we started as a sector agnostic incubator, so being at Himalayas, we identified that this is the clean tech and environment is going to be one of the key focus area. And then again, being at IIT, we also got another focus area to build an innovation hub in area of human-computer interaction. So I will just quickly talk about our how we are shaping our vision, mission, and then what the focus areas we are targeting, what kind of incubation program right now we are doing, and how the CSR we are targeting to engage with us, and what the process we are following to engage CSR fund with us, right? So the IIT Mandi Catalyst, among the IIT Mandi is one of the newest IIT. So the Catalyst also started in 2016, and in the last 5 years, we made a decent progress in terms of like getting the startups and developing our incubation program. And recently, in the last year, we decided that now we are ready to go to the CSR funds, and we can showcase what kind of impact we have created in last few years. So we have, in the last few years, incubated, supported more than 220 startups. They have created a good number of employment. We engaged a good number of mentors and conducted sessions. And one of the most important aspects is we focused on Himalayan region, Himachal, and more than 40% of the startups came from Himachal Pradesh. So we engaged regionally with the startup founders, government, all the stakeholders, which can play a big role in creating the ecosystem. Now, we were fortunate to have support to receive from the government. A very good number of schemes are right now going on, and we are still getting a lot of support from that. But again, that is a signal to us that we need to become self-sustainable. All the government scheme comes with a time limit, and then we have to make sure that we will be self-sustainable in near future. And that is the Catalyst portfolio, some of the key startup which we have. And that we formulated what our vision and mission is. So in the last few years journey, we decided that how we are going to define ourselves. So whereas we have defined ourselves as the catalyst to nurture and guide the entrepreneur initiative with social and economic objects. And that is where we identified that we are going to reach out to CSR funds, where their objectives to create social and economic objectives. And again, with having being at IIT, we have the capacity and capability of doing the R&D and innovation. And that is going to be the USP, which we can offer to the CSR funds. Now, after the setting up our vision and mission, the another important aspect is to set up our focus. So earlier in the first 4 years, we were sector agnostic. We cater to all the different sectors, but we identified that the majorly from the clean tech, environment, and healthcare, these are the two major areas where we are getting more, almost half, 50% of our startups. And then again, we got mandate to create an innovation hub in area of human computer interaction. So we identified these three are going to be our focus areas. And we now when we are approaching any CSR fund, these are the three areas we are talking about. And we for the first couple of years we are going to focus only on these areas. These are the sector representation of startup which we have. We are fortunate to have a number of different partners who are associating with us. This is the kind of the supports we provide to our startup, which is in fact very similar to the incubators in general we provide. And then again, we have divided our incubation program starting with the phase 0 EIR program, and then we have the pre-incubation, incubation, and then the acceleration program which we have. Now coming to one of the most important aspect which we have, that how the CSR fund can engage with Catalyst. So basically what we are looking with corporate engagement and the CSR funds are, we are not only looking at the money, but we are looking at people, which are the most important capital asset this corporate or CSR funds can provide us. So one of the important aspects we are looking to get the pool of mentors for our portfolio startups. So that is how they can, normality terms, they can support us. Recently, we did a lot of Grand Challenge, Himalayan Startup Grand Challenge, where many the corporates participated and gave both monetary and the human resource support to us. That's how we engaged with them. And now we are also talking with corporates, those who are focusing in area of environment conservation or the clean tech, to setting up innovation lab or center for innovation along with our incubator, and also bringing the IIT Mandi as the partner in that. And now the fourth, and which is the direct impact creation with the CSR fund, is about funding to startups, those who are working in clean tech and social impact area. Particularly those, so how we have defined that we are going to focus on the problems, so either which are coming from the Himalayan region, or if somebody is solving problem sitting at Himalaya. Now over the period of time, we have developed our CSR fundraising process. So that is how the step by step which we have developed is that we have started to with the first thing which we did, set up our clear target, that what is at the three level we had identified what is our target going to be. At the minimum, what should we should raise, what would be the fund which would be decent enough, or would be something optimum range of the fund we need, and what could be the maximum fund we can raise. So that is the three things which we have raised our target for us. Then the second thing we did was we set up our milestones for fundraising. So fundraising is going to be a long-term effort and activity. So we have set up, divided into a smaller goals and activities, and then set it up the milestones for doing that. Then we are identified dedicated resource within our team right now, and also we are looking for a person whom we can dedicatedly get on the task for fundraising. So that is one of the very key learning. For some of the time, we try to give it as a shared responsibility to one of the team member or two other team members. But our learning is that the fundraising is a very unique task. It requires a lot of attention, and it needs a lot of preparation. So what my suggestion to all the fellow incubators is that identify a resource either internally or externally, get a resource, because this is one of the revenue generation activity for incubator. So don't shy away that thinking that this is not the whatever core function to support startup. This is very important to sustain ourselves. So I get resource on that. Then the next activity, very important activity, would be to identify key people in our network. The first thing we should start looking at the alumni from our institute, people who are in our network, in our the professors network, or all the mentors networks. We need to look for people who can be helpful in reaching out to CSR funds. So that is one of the very important aspect. The third aspect is about looking at the sector specific people and key people. So if we are targeting in clean tech or health tech area, we look for people, those who are in that area and can play a role to reach out to our CSR fund in these areas. Then again, when we are going to pitch for CSR funds or projects, we look for that what we are going to do during the project, and we do the search that which are the foundations, those who are looking to achieve the same goals, or there are similar or if we can adjust to what they want, if we can do that, who else are doing that, and then what the milestones, how we can define the milestones in that project, and what kind of impact we can create on a time bound manner. Very important to create realistic impact numbers. Sometimes we get away with unrealistic target. So again, in the long run, that's not going to create a good perception on the value. So we have to be do research on that. What would be the realistic number? And then, of course, one of the very important aspect is to make your communication plan. This is a learning which learned that having a newsletter, having a blog, having the constant communication with all the stakeholders is a very important task. Sometimes, the earlier when we were having all the incubation operation and programs, we thought that newsletter might be an extra thing to do, and we need to bring extra effort, and we were doing it once in a year kind of thing. But we realized that it's very important to spread what we are doing to all the stakeholders and particularly CSR funds. So make sure that you dedicate resource towards creating this kind of content and the communication plan for your CSR fund activities. Then, of course, you need to make the activity plan to raise CSR funds, which is an important aspect. So basically, it's going to be a long-term activity where it's not that the CSR fundraising can happen in a 2-month or 3-month thing. We need to start making plan at least 1 year before the fundraising can happen. And in fact, within the first 5 or 6 months before the actual funding cycle, we need to start engaging with the various funds. So all the research should start at least 1 year before that. And then also we need to make a monitoring framework to build across if the impact measurement is one of the very key aspects. A lot of this CSR funds, they have to report annually what impact they have created through their CSR funds. So we Incubator actually can take that part from them, and we can help them to give them, of course, the part. So that is an important aspect that we need to do. And then, of course, the building the sustainability and the risk management needs to be taken care, and that is an ongoing process. We will learn with experience going forward. And then some of the advice which I would like to give all of you about the fundraising aspect, that one of the thing we need to be very cognizant about what real problems we have in your community. If I'm in Mandi, Himachal Pradesh, I need to know what are the problems in Himachal Pradesh, so which we need to solve. And then we need to tap the CSR funds, giving them that this is the problem we are going to solve. Then, of course, we need to be very specific when we talk about the outcomes. We need the SMART framework, you all know. So we need to bring that in practice while planning anything. And then, of course, we need to know what the funders they want and how much money they want to they can give for the objective. We can, even if we feel that we may not able to achieve that much thing with that fund, we may reduce the goal and accordingly adjust that thing. We need to do a planning for 1 to 3 years at least, because fundraising is a continuous process. And what I would advise those incubators, those who just started or just 1 or 2 year old, start making plan for that. Because as soon as you get 3 year older, you will get the opportunity to get these CSR funds, right? And again, we need to align, of course, the proposal with the funder's objective. And one of the important aspect which we are currently doing, that we are inviting the funders to visit us to see what we are doing, what kind of facilities we have created. And this is very important, particularly for those incubators who are in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So for us, it's going to take a lot of effort to bring funders in such kind of locations. So we need to communicate and plan with them to create such kind of element. It's very important because they need to see first that what we are doing, where we are, and then only they can build the trust. And only after when they talk to beneficiaries, then they feel that impact we are creating. So although in the presentations or the documentation we give the numbers, but the real conversation starts when they see the real humans and there's a real impact in that. So that is all what I wanted to share. Yeah, sure. Thank you, Abhin.
Thank you, Saurabh. So that was an amazing kind of workshop for the incubators who joined, like taking through the entire process. Thanks for taking time to create it and helping our fellow incubators to do that. Thank you, Saurabh. And always what are the do's or best practices in for the newer incubator? I think like everyone need to take a note on it and make sure that like the first 3 years, like we will be eligible for taking CSR after 3 years, but like the first 3 years is like more important to create a plan just after that 3 years if you want to get into the CSR segment. So with that, I would like to have both of you to answer a few of the questions which we have for today. Dr. Lakshmi and Dr. Like Saurabh, we are going to have few questions together, kind of like, and after that we will be taking few questions from the participants also. So my first question is to Saurabh. So as currently you are trying to figure out or like trying to find out the CSR agencies. So there is, like we all know there is a chicken and egg problem in the space, which you can clarify for the fellow incubators or startups join today. So how it usually work? Like do corporates come to you with certain mandates or initiatives to collaborate with them, or use scout corporates? And from where do you find all these corporates or CSR foundations who are working with incubators? And what is the primary, like if you're taking like three big prime factors to collaborate with the incubator, what it will be like? My question is to Saurabh.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Abhin, for the question. And in fact, even what I have observed in the recent time, exactly, it is actually a two-way thing right now. The earlier, maybe in the last 1 or 2 years back, the incubators were trying to get into the CSR funds, and we were pitching to various CSR funds to give us the grant and all. But right now, recently, I have seen that there are a lot of awareness now among the CSR funds and corporates about the startup ecosystem, and they are approaching us. So and there are not only the corporates who are at a larger scale, but also we need to realize that there are many corporates or CSR fund who are at medium level, or maybe a little lower than the medium level. Those are also now interested to engage with the startups. So they are approaching us. They are asking for a startup from particular specific areas, which aligns with their business interest. So right now, what they are seeing, that they want to engage with the startup. They want to see what kind of innovation happening, what kind of impact is happening. So mostly the startup, the CSR fund or the corporates, their primary interest right now is to give funds to startups. So like, for example, the SDFC, the startup program also, they give the funds to startups through incubators. And similarly, many such the corporates are approaching us, and they want to give some funds to startup through incubator. So that is, of course, the one of the key happening now. A lot of corporate approached us, and we are working with them. We are over portfolio startup. We are working with them to give the grant, to process the grant for them. On the other hand, we are also tapping and we are reaching out to many public sector companies. When we reached them, when we started talking to them, we realized and we felt that they are people at very senior position. They are not aware about the right now what is happening in the startup ecosystem or the incubator, and if there is CSR fund, how the CSR fund can support incubators. So that is of course, the knowledge, the awareness session we need to build up with them. We are making efforts to make them aware about what is happening, how we can deliver impact for them. For public sector companies can create that. Although like IOCL or HPCL, they already came up, but there are many public sector companies which are not aware about. So it's a two-way process right now.
Thank you, Saurabh. Like I'm coming to Dr. Lakshmi. So as you are in like last few years in the space of like running incubator, so for you, like I know, like you showed me like the way Canara Bank or like HDFC Bank did the CSR program. So if you can tell me like how you started approaching to them, or like they approach you, or whether it's an application process, or if you can take us through that journey, it will be great for the participants.
Sure, Evil. I think, see, one thing is, as Saurabh was earlier mentioning, It's a very conscious effort to raise CSR funds. So we have also tried before last year, multiple things. For example, we hired a professional, some sort of a consultant who had previous experience of raising CSR money. He said he will consult. Didn't happen. No, nothing happened. Then we realized that, or then we gave this as a part-time work to one of our employees. Didn't happen. So I would probably say the senior most person in the incubator, no, either the CEO or somebody at that level should take the initiative of raising CSR funds. This is one thing. And for both of them, see, even for this HDFC, as I told you, we applied and there was a call for application. But the way you apply, way you put in your application makes all the difference, in terms of who are the startups, what are they doing, what kind of problem they are solving. So probably that is what brought credibility to the whole application itself. That is one way. There are also, see, whenever there's a specific call for application for CSR funds to multiple incubators, we've been attempting. For example, I think there was one by HCL last year, where CSR funds we could apply. I think it looks like some of them are long drawn process. It's almost 1.5 years and nothing has moved forward in that application process. So some applications click, some of them don't. And this Canara Bank, how it worked was, I knew a friend of mine who knew these people in Canara Bank, Canara Bank Securities, senior management, who wanted to fund, I would say, not-for-profit organizations and do something more meaningful. Again, they were not focused on incubators. They wanted to fund corporates. I think, again, I will agree here with Saurabh. Not most of the public sectors are aware the concept of incubation itself and how incubators can really play a meaningful role with respect to CSR. So if they don't know, probably enlightening them would be good. So this guy called me, saying, ma'am, I know you are running a not-for-profit. So are you eligible for CSR? Have you filed in your CSR form 1? Again, here, for the incubators, I think you need to know what are the regulations which are happening. Make sure that you do all your papers are in order, ATG, 12A. I think even these regulations, last year we had to refile our ATG, 12A because you have finished 3 years. So make sure that your papers are in order so that whenever it is required, you can furnish that and apply. So it came through a common referral friend. Yeah, to answer your question.
Thank you. So I think like for everyone, it's all more when you are looking for CSR projects, it's better to build good relationship with the.
Absolutely.
So relationship is one of the key, and like conclude on that, like we need to have someone who is looking only on CSR from the incubator team, rather having like making it as a part-time activity for one of them. I believe like both of them agree for that. So as ma'am mentioned, like this legal prerequisites or like all these legal preparatory work is one major part of getting into CSR. So if you can take me through what were the certain legal aspects which we need to think about, and apart from the other than the legal requirements, what are the preparatory steps that you need to in incubation center to collaborate with the CSR programs? And when does an incubator eligible for taking up CSR? Like you mentioned the form CSR one. So if you can take me through the brief process of it, it will be great.
Okay, even the questions addressed to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. No, actually, see, I think by default, all the incubators in the country are not for profit. No, I think today most of us are Section 8. So as Section 8, we become eligible for CSR after 3 years of operations. Okay. Have 3 years of operations, we become eligible. That is number one. And initial 3 years, I think most of the government funded incubators don't think of CSR, right? You have government funding, you are in the honeymoon period. I think post 3 years is when the problem starts, right? So that also aligns with our thing. So, but initial, when you're there in the honeymoon period, please plan for your 4th and 5th year also. Don't build a corpus. You see, to be very frank, I think from all my so many years of experience, I feel that so much of funding we get from government is really not required to run incubator. Honestly, the operations part of running an incubator can be really, really frugal. So conserve money for your 4th and 5th year. Any revenue you generate, please create a corpus for your later years of operations. So ATG to LA are 2 requisites, which you need to be eligible to receive CSR money. And the CSR form 1 is what they have mandated from last year, where there's a form to be filed in ROC by the incubators. where all, I mean, there's a detail, no, once you go to ROC, the returns to be filed, your third 3 years balance sheet, P&L, all that has to be filled in so that you become eligible to apply.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Coming to Saurabh, what are the preparatory steps that you take to become eligible for this doing CSR projects at IIT Mandi Catalyst?
Yes. So, I've been not only the legal requirement is to be completed. Of course, we need to be very clear that the funding agencies, they are looking for not only the ATG and CSR1, that is also a validation about our document readiness in that aspect. And also the another important aspect is that is the one part. The other part is that the period of this 3 years when we will become eligible. This 3 year we need to prepare ourselves with capturing all the impact which we are creating through our multiple activities. Normally, it happens that when we start incubator, we have so much issues and problems in operation area. We tend to ignore the fact that how we are capturing the impact. And in fact, it happens that impact start coming somewhere in end of first and half year, and we are not prepared to capture those impact, and we sleep out those things. But it's very important to capture this impact. Not only that, and of course, data collection is a big challenge for incubators, because getting data on a regular basis from startups is a challenge. They are busy in their operations, and we need to dedicate our resource to get that data. We need to create a system also so in that way incubation management software systems are very important to capture this data on an automation mode. Now, when we have that data, that is one of the very important aspect. The second is to be aware about what are the legal requirements. So as I mentioned about the 12A or ATG and then the CSR1, we need to complete all of that. And even in fact, if we are targeting foreign fund, then the FCRA is also very important. So we need to plan for that. Each form has very specific requirement. There are a lot of follow-up questions from the department. We need to answer them. So it's not a very straight process. There would be a lot of loops involved in that. So we need to give time to also to that when and how it will happen. And then the second important aspect is when we have that data, we need to start making channels to spread that knowledge information also, so that we get into visibility in eyes of CSR funds, donors, and that is also very important aspect. And the third is doing a research, identifying the right CSR funds. There are many CSR funds, but not everyone will be right fit for me. We need to identify. Of course, every institute or an incubator is coming up with very unique proposition. Right? The IIT might be having higher chances that having the brand legacy can help that. But if an incubator may not be having that, they can leverage on their location. Like for example, when I was in 36 INC, we were located in Chhattisgarh, and what we saw that there are a lot of social and economic problems are there, and many CSR funds are interested to solve problem at Bastar area or the other the tribal region nearby. So we focused on that. We looked upon that. Another example which we leveraged from the state social welfare department. Then when we realized, during one interaction we came to know that they want to do something for especially able people, particularly visually impaired people. So when we designed a incubation program for people, those who are solving problem for visually impaired or the visual impaired entrepreneurs, and that was well accepted by the department. They gave a lot of fund and support to run that program. So while interacting with stakeholders, people, we may come across such things where we can design a program and then solve their objectives.
Thank you, Saurabh, taking through. But as you mentioned, capturing the right impact, capturing the impacts from the first year makes more easier chances to get the CSR. So I'm coming to Saurabh again. So if we are partnering with a CSR corporate foundation, I think the CSR report or the impact report plays a major role, right? So how we can how an incubator can make this job easier, or how we can, like, how you usually show the impact, like, or what will be the indexing parameters when you're showing the impact. If you can give me a light into that, it will be great for the participants also. And
Sure,
before
sure.
that, answering the question, like, if participants have any questions, like, they can put in the chat. So after 1-2 questions, we'll be moving to the participants' questions. Please, over to
Sure.
you.
Sure, Evin. So, Evin, capturing impact is a very continuous process. We get, we after some time we identify some parameters, we collect that data, and then after some 3 months or 6 months after time, we realize that we need to also, need to capture data from another dimension. Like, for example, if we are planning to launch a program for women entrepreneurs, we need to need to start asking from the beginning that how many women entrepreneurs we have, or people coming from the vulnerable communities, maybe on the OBC or the SC/ST communities, if how many entrepreneurs we have. So when we design our application forms or when we collect information from our entrepreneurs, that is the data point where we get most of the information. After the entrepreneur become engaged in their operations and our incubation process, they again getting them fill up new forms, and form is a very tiring exercise for them also. So we need to keep evolving our own application form, make sure that when we are taking data information, we take as much as relevant as we can. But again, what I have seen that another important aspect for us is that to keep our relation with all our startups alive, even if startup graduates from one of the program, then we need to be capturing impact involves our startup who has started in the beginning of our journey. So once it happens that after 3 years we lost touch from the startup who have joined us in the first year, they might have now working on their own or might have closed down, but getting data from them is one of the another, because there will be a new parameters will keep coming up. Right now we may be focusing only on employment, or might be focusing on the gender aspect, or might be focusing on the revenue the startup creating, but in future there will be a new challenges. The CSR fund might be coming up with the new dimension to work upon. So we need to keep alive our relation with the startups so that they feel motivated to give us that information.
Thank you, Saurabh. So from your like employment generation or gender equality, diversity and inclusion, and the social economic numbers and the revenue might be like few parameters which I could capture from your answer. So coming to Lakshmi ma'am, like what are the parameters that you track for make sure that like there is impact created, or in the impact report, like what DERBI actually look into in assessing an impact?
Sure. I mean, I think I would honestly say we are very early in the game. So, for example, no, I mean, 1 or 2 projects wherever we have done, specifically we try to cater to what the corporate is looking at. See, even in the case of the Canara Bank, what we have got, they wanted asset creation only. But we have aligned that to our own thing so that the asset also becomes useful to startup and there's a revenue generation in the process. With respect to the HDFC thing, for example, no, they were very clear that startup should be either in health, education, couple of other areas. So we have chosen and recommended those startups who have solutions on healthcare, which are ready to be deployed, so that solutions can either be deployed in the community, so many patients being tested, so many patients being monitored, or kits being given to so many people who want to use, I mean, those are real measurable metrics in terms of healthcare, right? How many people or how many people have in the community have got benefited? I think that is one very important metric. Again, to a large extent, no, many cases, there are 2 ways of looking at it. I mean, one is if there's a specific CSR project given, most of the times the corporate will have a specific outcome which they have in mind. Parallelly, what Saurabh was telling, which I really appreciate, is you are doing a lot of things with your startups already, as a part of your incubation, pre-incubation, acceleration. So it's very important to capture the impact that your startups are generating in terms of, bringing out solutions. Solutions could be in terms of essentially, how it is impacting people on the ground. whether number of people tested, number of lives saved, number of geographies they've been in, or what is the cost impact it is brought down. No, for example, cost of treatment was X earlier, now it is Y, so much it has come down, and how many more people have access to things like that, number of lives saved. So depending on, see, ultimately, incubator itself cannot do, right? So you'll have to measure your impact through what your startups are doing. So I think that's a very conscious effort. The incubation managers, especially, work very closely with the startups, should capture this information and keep capturing it in your repository. You will never know in what format this may be useful to whom you're applying for the CSR support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. So I believe like that incubator manager or program manager who runs the programs has to be keen on create the reports or create the parameters and impact assessment as a continuous process. Thank you, ma'am, for that. And now I'm coming for the next question. Like we all I think we have 832 plus incubators in India, and most of them like started as sector agnostic incubator. But later on, they moved into like focus areas, and like they become like finding their own USPs as an incubator. So coming to the what are the potential areas or sectors which incubators can focus on? Like I believe like in the first 2 years, 3 years, the incubators tend to be sector agnostic. So after that, they can focus on few sectors. So if you can guide them, like what there's the few areas or sectors these incubators can work on to in later stages they can get or CSR projects, or they can partner with CSR projects, and how we can align to Sustainable Development Goals 2030 with the CSR projects. So I'm throwing this question to Dr. Lakshmi for the first, and we'll go to.
Sure. Okay, sure. So actually there are two questions, right?
Yes.
So one is aligning on the sustainability goals, and other one is how can incubators align themselves for the focus area, right?
Yes.
See, India, fortunately, I think everything you see around has a social angle. We are not a so-called developed country. So whether you start with health, education, people, women, empowerment, livelihood, water, everywhere, there are enough social problems around. So everything has a social angle, right? So, I mean, most of these you will be able to align very easily to the SDG goals in terms of what needs to be done, how to create impact. See, as far as every incubator goes, whether you are based on the geography or based on the host institution or based on the region where you're located or the market or whatever, you have your own inherent strength, right? Whether it is based on where you're located, you're there in a rural area, you have access to rural people, or you're there in agricultural area, you have access to the farming community. You please, I think I would urge all the incubators to introspect and find out what is your unique strength. See, that is what happened in our case, I'll tell you. See, when we started in 2016, in fact, I think we boast of one of the best advisory boards in the country. With the freedom given at the Dayanand Sagar to run the incubator, I am only the person representing Dayanand Sagar on the board. The rest of it, we have about 10 to 12 people, the best people in Bangalore ecosystem on the advisory board. People are investors, corporates, so they give us the best inputs. So we started as an IoT AI incubator. But then we realized very soon that IoT AI is too generic. We had startups who are doing industrial IoT, startups who are doing education, startups who are doing healthcare, whole lot of things. How do we really support them? I think when startups come to incubators, they primarily look at only money, either direct funding or access to market. So can you facilitate these two to your startups? Access to market could be even in terms of pilot trials, trying out, validate, or even access to talk to potential customers, right? So, and why we are doing healthcare is primarily Sagar Group has couple of corporate hospitals. We have a medical college now. We have a teaching hospital, and all allied areas of healthcare are there in the Sagar Group. Pharma to nursing to dental, everything under one roof. I think we are among the very few incubators in the country who have facilities like this. So even though we knew that healthcare is a long haul, healthcare startup minimum means at least 3 to 5 years. We took this challenge because that is what will give us a USP. I think incubators have to introspect what is their big strength. maybe inside the host institution or in the region they operate, or people who are known to them. Please play on your strengths. I think that is the biggest advantage, and USP you can also create over a period of time.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for that. So now coming to Saurabh. So what you think about aligning incubator to SDG goals and like few sectors which we can the new incubators can focus on?
Right. Very much agree to Lakshmi ma'am's what Lakshmi ma'am has said, that the if we need to do analysis what our internal strengths are, the host institution or our internal ecosystem, where the expertise we have. The other thing is the about the external areas where we have to responsibility to cater to. Like as example, I have studied that when I was in Chhattisgarh. I realized that we are near to Bastar, and that is an area where a lot of CSR fund wants to do something good through their impact creation. So we chosen a program for to do in Bastar and the nearby tribal areas. Similarly, when I was in Chennai, then when we went there, so the focus in 36 ANC was on startup who are into more social impact creation, because that is also being a state government incubator. That was one of the key aspect for such incubator. While I was in Chennai working with Great Lakes Institute, because the Great Lakes Institute had their expertise area in running specific AI, ML, blockchain based business programs for lead management leaders. So that's why we chose the area of this AI, ML, blockchains area to. And later on, when we also started to see that Chennai is being capital of SaaS startups, we identified that being sitting at a capital of SaaS thing, we need to bring incubation program in SaaS areas also. So that's how we chosen things there. While in at IIT Mandi, when we started way back in 2016, we started as a sector agnostic, offering incubation to all sector areas startups. But then again, finally we realized that the most number of startups which we are getting, they are solving clean tech environment related problems, and which is obvious. Being in a Himalayan region, people are very concerned about environment, and that's why a lot of startup are happening in this place. And the second thing was the health tech emerged as one of the very key area. So eventually, and that it became evident to us that these are the two focus area we need to focus on, and also of course being at the catering to startups who are working for Himalayan region problems, which are mostly about environment and health tech only. And then the third area, focus area, we found out where we had the mandate to create ecosystem in human computer interaction. So that is how we chose it. But what I see that it's a ever evolving process of finding the key area, focus area, and also with time that changes also. Maybe this year this is our focus area, but after 2-3 years period of time we may need to switch to a new focus area. That could be. But again, I believe that having a focus area helps an incubator to build strength, bring resources, and it's very important. You cannot be for longer, you can't be sector agnostic. You need to identify one or two focus area where you can build your resource repository for helping startups.
Thank you, Saurabh, for answering. Like I can easily resonate with both of them because at sitting at Bitspirak Bionas, which is focusing on healthcare and environment. So it is easier. Like one side, like having a focus area gives us more clarity of thoughts to do what to do in the segment. On the other side, like it also creating a bigger impact for the space. Like after pandemic, like India faced the biggest healthcare challenges. Now the startups are here to solve it, and the incubators are here to enable the startups who are working on this segment. So clean tech, environment, healthcare, and like almost education. Like if you take SDGs, sustainable development goals, as your focus, like if you can pick any of them, I believe like that can be one focus area, like every incubator can follow it up. And now I'm coming to the questions from the participants. So Taha, have a question, like because Lakshmi ma'am told about like you took the CSR from your parent organization. So most of the incubators are set up in an educational institution or by a corporate or by a philanthropic organization. So what are the legal compliances or challenges while taking when you're taking it from sister or parent concern, or is it more easier in terms of
Yeah.
documentation?
See, even here I would like to clarify that. See, Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering is a host institution for DERBI. That is run by a trust. So trust cannot give you CSR money, right? Because they themselves are not for profit.
True, true.
Fortunately, we had a for-profit hospital in the group who was given us funding. So if you have a for-profit institution, I'm sure most of the bigger education institutions are multifaceted, right? For example, even if in Bangalore, there are multiple education institutions. They are into construction, civil, hospital, whole lot of things. So if there is a for-profit entity in the group, then you always have a better advantage because it is within the group. You can take funds from them. But again, here you should be very, very cautious that because there are two entities we are talking about, no, two entities within the same umbrella, and both the entities will have the obviously the same promoter directors, right? So make sure that the CSR fund of the same group is not used to make a profit in another entity. That should be very careful. See, though we took money from Sagar Hospital, we did not use that money to invest in startups. Because investing in startups is a for-profit activity, right? Then you are putting the promoters in trouble. So this you have to be very careful. Though you're taking money, use it for real social objective, not for investing in startups and not for a profit objective. See, though you're supporting startups with the grant, fund, whatever, it is a for-profit business, right? You're not doing it free. You will probably take an equity, right?
Yeah.
It is a business interest. So this incubators who have this benefit, make sure that you don't take money for a for-profit initiative. I think that otherwise you are good to take. If it is a for-profit entity, you can take. Because legally, both are two separate entities. No, they may be under the same umbrella, but they are legally in the register of companies, two separate entities.
Got it. Got it. So I believe like it answers the question. So if you are taking CSR from parent organization, make sure that you are not using it for taking equity to the startups or like
exactly.
give it as grants or do challenges, do different programs or
correct.
So that way it will more easier. So Saurabh, do you have any thoughts? Because like when you worked with Great Lakes, I'm believing like there also you had a same challenge or like same thing happen in your life. So do you have any thoughts on the same?
Great. Not from the legal point of view, but yes, as the host institution, when we need to understand that host institution are not government organizations. They whatever the fund they are going to allocate to us, they want to showcase them the impact created to that, and which will have the very clear outcome out of that. So that is what we need to ensure, that when the host institution is contributing or giving the CSR fund out of that, we need to make them see the clear result of or outcome of that projects. So that is, and more so Lakshmi have covered the points. So
thank you, Saurabh. So if any of the participants have any questions, like you can raise hands and unmute your mic and you can ask. Please go ahead, Nishant. Nishant is from IIT Kharagpur, Agribusiness Incubator.
Thanks, Evan. Thanks a lot. Am I audible, Evan?
Yes, please.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Saurabh. This is Nishant Tiwari from Agribusiness Incubation Foundation, IIT Kharagpur. I have a query, ma'am, that actually we are a fledgling incubator. We have just started our operations this year. We started last year, but due to some operational hiccups, we couldn't start at that time. We have started our operations this year itself. We are beginning our first cohort. So as mentioned by you before, that we need to wait for 3 years before we gather some good momentum in terms of incubation of startups and other parallel activities. So I just want to know that apart from incubating startups, what kind of auxiliary activities can be taken in order to attract CSR funding from bodies, either corporates or other funding agencies. So we are into agri and rural tech space, ma'am.
Okay.
This is what our mandate is, that we need to create technologies and product and service offerings which are kind of adaptable to the affordable for the rural households. So now, what kind of activities, parallel activities you should be running apart from incubating startups, ma'am, in order to attract funds?
Sure. See, I think the broader mandate of incubators is innovation and startups, right?
Yes.
See, I mean,
ma'am.
innovation is the core. Innovation could be
Okay.
working with startups or innovate solutions which are for a societal large, maybe by startup, maybe by anybody, right? So still you are eligible to get that 3 years thing. Again, 3 years, I would clarify here that 3 years is from the date of your ROC registration. You would have registered 3 years back, but started 2 years back operations and starting incubation now. So from the date of registration, keep that in count, not from the day you're starting incubation programs, right? So that is 3 years.
Okay.
So one is working with startups. Other one is the two ways of looking at it. No, one is what can you do around innovation to cater to the community where you are located, right? Maybe see there are multiple ways of doing it. No, if you are say located in a you want to do something on agri-tech innovation, right? So what all can be done in agri-tech innovation in the place where you're located, maybe Kharagpur or wherever, so that you want to do some good work and build some I would say momentum, so that you can approach corporates 2 or 3 years down the line, right? One way of looking at it, for example, can you identify a lot of frugal innovations which are there in your area? See, one thing I've seen is I have also worked with some of the innovations in rural area being associated with an incubator close to Bangalore. What we did there was we identified a couple of farmers. There was one farmer who had developed a multi-weed, an instrument which could be used as a multi-purpose instrument for plowing, tilling, weed removing, couple of things like that. Then what we did, we got the farmer over, got him to the department, got him to the mechanical engineering department. The department did a lot of work with him in fine-tuning. Some small money was spent in fine-tuning the device so that the device was ready to be commercialization ready, because a lot of farmers in this place also asked him, we want to buy multiple equipment like this. If you're able to manufacture, sell it to us. He had a bigger market. He did not know how to fine-tune this and build a business out of it. This is again an innovation specifically on the grassroots with the farmer, which has a commercial angle, which your incubator is proving without any money, any big money to be spent, saying this can be done. This is again innovation, right? So see what can be things like this. See what can be done on innovation to try solving problems in the community where you're located.
Okay.
This has got nothing to do with farmers. Again, I think biggest strength you have is students and innovations around. That is one. So one other way of looking at it, with your IIT brand, you can see who are the corporates who would be interested in innovation around agri. For example, I know a company, I forgot the name. No, they are a Bangalore-based company, one of the biggest grain processing companies in the world. They manufacture huge machines for rice and other grains processing. This company was very proactive into innovation, right? They said if there are any innovations in and around grain processing, in and around agri processing, post-harvest processing, we would be very happy to see what is happening in that area. Companies like this, if you're able to identify, I'm sure part of it they would also fund, right? In terms of you run campaigns, identify, call for startups, take specific problem definitions from companies like this. See who are the startups who are working on those areas. Startups could be even in the initial areas. Companies would be ready to even mentor them, which startups are also looking for. Many of these things you could do without spending much of money. You don't need CSR funding at all for this, right?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
I hope I've partially answered. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Abhin. Thanks, Saurabh.
Yeah. Yeah, Nishant, just to add one example, Nishant, there are various other ways, or we can think creatively about, apart from incubation startup programs, how we can get the CSR funds. But we need to ensure that those kind of activities are defined in our MOA also. Like one example which we had in Chhattisgarh, that the state minor forest marketing department, they came up to us and they asked us that, okay, we want to enable micro entrepreneurs across villages, those who are just collecting the minor forest products, and then we need to build a network there. They will be on board and they can we will market that products collection and the market of those products. Dabur and other Patanjali's kind of the big MNC companies are ready to procure product, but the problem is that at the ground level collection is not happening. We need to build micro entrepreneurs. So that's the whole project built up there. And then finally now IIT Kanpur is doing that project where they are just creating that network of micro entrepreneurs. So not in the traditional terms of a startup, these are micro entrepreneurs, not the traditional entrepreneur or startups, but that is the kind of development project we incubators can do.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a
lot. Saurabh, thanks Nishant for that question. So I would like to come to that point. Like, so whenever you are thinking about doing some activity apart from your what is your mention in MOA, you need to go back and amend that MOA for sure, because like we all are not for profit or like registered under MCA or maybe like even in society. So you need to amend your like documents to make sure that you are aligned to whatever programs that you are mentioning. Because like when we like made that incubation entity or incubator entity, it would be focusing on more on business promotion, incubation or acceleration aspect of it. It won't be having like the social economic aspect of it. So it's better always go back and check your documents and make sure that like, because I previously had a story like where we failed to get this, like we had to go back and amend our documents to get the CSR and like even ours was a private limited incubator registered entity, so we converted into second company to get it done. So make sure that like your organization entity or the MOA is clearly mandating to do this activities which we are mentioning, like apart from the incubation activities. So taking to the next question, I believe like Shweta from AIC ISSR Pune is here on the call. If you can unmute and ask your question on the chat, it will be great.
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Lakshmi and Sri Saurabh and of course Ebin for this very useful session, and it's very inspiring, and we hope that we can take baby step towards accessing CSR funds. So we have completed some of our compliances, but I want to know, I heard from somebody that if you get the CSR funds towards the end of the financial year, you're supposed to return it back unless you have a proper MOU kind of thing with your donor. Is that correct? Or can it be carried forward to the next financial year? Or it depends on your understanding with your CSR donor?
See, as far as I know, I think the CSR funding is for the financial year. I think this you will have to clarify with the donor. If it's for that financial year, it has to be spent in that financial year. Unfortunately, what we have also realized in India is most of these corporates who really don't have a clear CSR strategy probably wake up only by November, December time period, saying we have CSR money, what can be done? So incubators have to gear up, keep ready, whatever they ask, see whether how you can tweak your agenda to fulfill their requirement.
Okay.
So I would like to take that question of Shweta, because like I can easily resonate to what ma'am said. Like from November, December, January, that's the right time to pitch to corporate on CSR. And as Saurabh mentioned earlier, like it is only 1% of funds coming to CSR in the incubation space at moment. So there is a good opportunity if you do a good pitch to corporate, because like for them it will be like very minimal amount where they can spend on incubators, and we have clear mandate. And on the other side, you can take like if you're creating capital assets, you can take it, like you can spend the amount for that project in the more than the financial year. So it is like you need to have clear MOU or memorandum an agreement with the donor for mentioning like when you are supposed to spend it, and the utilization certificate has to be submitted before the March 31st. So this is two things like you need to consider when you are taking CSR to the incubator. So the main thing, like the agreement mentioning about the milestones and budget or whatever you propose it, that has to be a very clear document. Like if you have just a like 2-page document for an agreement, it never work. So you need to have a clear agreement saying that what will be the budget will be spent for and what are the milestones of spending that budget. And that milestones can go beyond that financial year also. So if you're saying like that, you are spending first few part of like if you're running a challenge as your CSR program, you can do the marketing in the first year and you can do execute the program or like the longer run and the second year, second financial year. It never matter. But when you submit or when you sign this agreement, this has to be there, like the milestone has to be clearly mentioned. So this is one point when we do the document has to be done. And second thing, all the reports or the utilization certificates audited by a CA has to be submitted to the corporate before the financial year. So they will look into that. And on the other question which you asked, like 5%, yes, there is a cap of 5%. Like the incubator can take maximum up to 5% as a cap of administration fee or for the fund management fee. Like if you're giving it as a seed fund to the startup, like then there is a challenge of like this cap of 5%, which is mandated in the CSR amendment.
I have one question. Like, Lakshmi ma'am told the 3 years is the time where, you prepare yourself, to be eligible to pitch your idea for the corporate. So I'm from Kosik and I work in Jharkhand. I'm the director of Chaubey Foundation. So my question is, during these 3 years, what are the different certifications or, kind of credentials we can get to claim that, we are working good in our areas? Like, I know a couple of like Guidestar we have, Credibility Alliance you have, but, other than that, do we have any certification which we can go for so that, we can benchmark our work of 3 years, which can be kind of, pitch for the corporate when, we go for the funding?
The question is to like,
I mean, anybody, I know, you all are working in this area. So anybody knows about this, because recognition in this area is also important. And I don't know what are the benchmarks available in social sector, but I just got to know about 2, which, my organization, just received. But apart from that, can we, look for something which are kind of, taken as a benchmark?
I'm not sure. I mean,
so
I think Saurabh, if you are aware, you can probably enlighten me as well on this. Any specific certifications for this?
Kausi, if you can, repeat the question. I might have missed that.
Yeah, so Saurabh, what I was telling is, when we work right in social sector, during the 3 years, when we are not eligible to receive funds, right? So in this during this year, we can actually apply for some certifications or some recognitions from nodal agencies. So I know at least 2, like Guidestar India, and then I know about Credibility Alliance, right? So they have different norms, basic, advanced, platinum, right? So these 2 my organizer received, and these are good to have, when you go for pitching your idea, that we have already received these credentials. So do you know anything other than these 2 which can be beneficial, or kind of other certifications which we can go for? Because nowadays this is also important, that when you were working, so was there any nodal agency which kind of ensure your transparency of work, or who has gone through your kind of audit, right? So financial audit, I understand there happens once in a year, and the CA do that. But is there any independent agency who can go through your work, give you different credentials which can be used for pitching your idea?
Sure. So Kaushik, actually, incubator are very new space in India. So we do not have very structured thing behind it. Right now, Startup India have started a couple of years back, giving ranking the startups and incubators, giving them the awards also in particular areas. Apart from that, at a global level, there is a UBI global ranking, which give a ranking to incubators and different based on academic, private organizations and all. Those are the global benchmarks. But yeah, again, in terms of incubator, there are very few opportunities, kind of the benchmarking things are available. So these are the few options which I'm aware about.
So coming here, so basically like in the incubator space, there is no certifications or recognition apart from the government one or ATG or 12A available in India at the moment. But as being an organization, you can apply for the Guidestar or ISO certifications for your process. Or apart from that, like what I would suggest, like what we made it as a good practice, publishing reports of the projects, like or publishing reports or white papers in this segment will make you as a thought leader or like give more visibility as what I felt like. And obviously like creating good PR or good media recognition, like Saurabh mentioned during his presentation, like if you can create a credibility through the social media platforms, or if you can carry like if you can carry that stories which are coming out of this back to the public through platforms, that will really create a impact in the society or impact with the corporates to work associate with you. But apart from that, like there is a organization called National Institute for Social Impact, which you can apply, and there is another one called these all are international certifications. B Corporation is another one where you can apply, which consider about social impact. And obviously, like we are also learning in the space, like it's for all the incubators, it's very new space. We are trying to get into the space. So surely Headstart will bring master classes or like learning programs on the same thing, like how if there is few certifications available, how we can make it available and all. Surely we will be coming back with few master classes on the same. So and is there any more questions? I can see two hands. Hashir, please. Maybe like we can take one more question and we
yeah.
can.
Sure. Thank you so much. By the way, my name is Hashir. My question is not, something which is directly related to the incubator program and all. So I'm working in an aspirational district called Yadgir of Karnataka as part of an NGO, as a foundation. So there is a great lack of CSR funds in the aspirational districts, which are the very backward districts in our country. Well, the repeated reports of Niti Aayog itself suggest us, very less percentage of CSR funds is reaching to the very backward districts of our country. So is there any way to, channel this CSR funds to these very needy places in our country? Would be great if you can give your thoughts on that.
Sure. So Asir, that is true. That is the actually reality. Even in fact, I'm aware about all the mining belt which we have in central India. They are the region which produces a lot of mining revenue. But unfortunately, the public sector companies which generate so much revenue from these regions, even they actually hardly spend any significant CSR fund in this region. So that is a very important aspect. One of the big reason is that for to move CSR funds, one needs a sort of influence or to convince people, stakeholders to give that, and people from backward region may not be in position to do that. So that is the reason. What we have seen in our experience that reaching out to stakeholders, and I think where the incubators can play a big role in convincing the decision makers to ensure that they should channel their funds to this region. There are a couple of examples which I have seen during my tenure there while I was talking about Bastar region. So the district leader and the public sector companies, they gave fund for setting up an incubator there. So now that is the kind of ray of hope that even now the public sector companies are understanding that the incubator can play a big role in changing the fate of this kind of aspirational districts.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think like we are almost 10 minutes.
Between 1 second, I just want to add to what Saurabh said. Interestingly, the person who spoke is from Yadgir, Karnataka. Are you from Karnataka?
No, ma'am. I'm basically from Kerala, but I'm working in Karnataka.
Yeah, same Yadgir, right?
Yeah, Yadgir.
Yeah, interestingly, what happened was we were planning to do some interesting project in Yadgir. because Yadgir is among the most aspirational districts of Karnataka. And one of the problems in Yadgir is malnutrition. So we also wanted to find out if you identify a district and have a partner. In fact, there's an organization called Kalike. I'm sure you know in Yadgir, right?
Yeah, Tata Kalike.
Tata Kalike. Yeah, that is a initiative, CSR initiative, Tata Trust. They have an entity in Yadgir. And they said we will also partner, see how we could do some initiative around, we are still exploring some initiative around health, right? See, health being our interest, and Yadgir is an aspirational district with a lot of malnutrition among adolescent children. So we link the two. We are now trying to explore, see whether we could bring in startup solutions which are around detection and management of malnutrition. But for all this, we should have an implementation partner on the ground, which this organization was ready to facilitate. I think to answer your question, probably there are aspirational districts. I think incubators have to identify the point of contact with whom we can work together to implement the CSR projects. That is why early on also I said, don't see that all the CSR money should be only yours. So get in partners with whom you can implement it on the ground. That is where things will happen.
Yes.
For your
Yeah.
information, ma'am, Azim Premji is also present here. They are doing great work here. Azim Premji is
Oh,
philanthropic.
great. Okay. No, we had a common friend at Tata Trust to whom we got connected to Kalike.
So, like coming to CSR, it's all about collaboration, like how all the incubators, all the organizations can collaborate, because it's for the country. Like that's the intention. Like even Headstart started this initiative of CSR Fridays or CSR with startups, like bringing more incubators, bringing more enablers, bringing more corporations, bringing more startups together to collaborate and create a bigger impact. So I think like we can wrap up for today. Hopefully,
Yeah.
and like if you
There
have
is a
any,
long-ending questions. Yeah, sure.
yeah, if you have any other questions, we can take it offline. We will be hosting CSR Fridays every Friday on one or the other topics where we will be supporting incubators, startups, and foundations to learn more things in this space. Because like we all are taking baby steps in the space, and we really need a good learning curve or sessions or master classes where we can enable ourselves or to make sure that there is more increase in the flow of CSR funds to the incubation innovation ecosystem in India. So that's the exact purpose of CSR Friday from Headstart. And make sure that thank you for joining today, Lakshmi, Dr. Lakshmi ma'am and Saurabh, and giving more insights. We will be sharing all these insights on YouTube, where you can go back and recheck. And obviously, we will be coming back with more master classes and like how we can be more strong in this space. And if any of these incubator startups or foundations are looking forward to connect with other partners in the ecosystem, do reach out to us. We are happy to facilitate that relationships or like that to make sure that the impact happening in the right pace. So thanks. That's for today. Thanks everyone who joined.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lakshmi and Saurabh again. And I would like to call up few volunteers like Vagesh, Bhaktashi, Taha, Mili, who worked to bring this together, this CSR Friday initiative together, where we are planning like next 4 weeks. We have planned already packed up with activities. Every Friday you can join at the right time, like 5 o'clock again, to learn in the space. Thank you. Thanks everyone again. See you next week with new topic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you.